This week on Street Riding American Style, we went to Topeka, Kansas. Population 128,000. But we didn't just go there for one show. We went there for two shows. From those two shows, we'll take a look at a 1941 Plymouth, a 1931 GMC, a 47 Chevy Business Coupe, and a 1955 Chevy 210. All this is coming up next on Street Riding American Style.
Support for Street Riding American Style is provided in part by BG Products Incorporated. BG Products Incorporated is dedicated to making vehicles last longer and perform better in the meantime. In shops all over the world, BG Products serves the driving public with innovative products and proven programs of automotive maintenance. More information can be found at bgfindashop.com. And
Ren Radio plays your favorite oldies. Great oldies of the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. Great oldies from Elvis, Chuck Berry, the Skyliners, and many more. Nothing but the greatest music ever laid down on disc. Ren Radio is online all the time at renradio.net.
Good times, great oldies. WREN.
They make you look, dream, and sometimes even wish. These are street rods, built or just owned by those who have the same passion. My name is David Wolf, and along with Simon McCormick and Patricia Brown, we travel to admire these passions. These are works of art and are designed with the personality and the ingenuity of the owner in mind. Built in garages, barns, and even under shade trees in communities all across this great land of ours. This is more than just a hobby. This is an addiction. This is Street Riding American Style. Si, today there are two shows going on at the same time in Topeka, Kansas.
I've heard all about them, dude.
What'd you hear?
All right, we got one with our buddies at Ren Radio.
Right.
And the other one is over at the Pad Restaurant.
I'll tell you what, you go to the Pad Restaurant,
Okay.
and I'll head over with the guys with Ren Radio.
Sweet.
And we'll get together and we'll compare notes.
And you guys are going to come with us.
Right. Okay, now, Tom, I came across this car. At first, I wasn't sure what I was looking at. I thought, okay, are we going to put this on the show or not? But there's so much fun stories about this car that I didn't realize. What are we looking at first?
We're looking at a 1941 Plymouth.
on December 7, 1941, the U.S. was attacked by the Japanese at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. The song Chattanooga Choo Choo by Glenn Miller was a top hit, and singer Mama Cass was born.
All right, Tom, what I'm noticing about this frame that this is on, this is not normal for this car, is it?
No, it's not.
What is the frame you have here?
Okay, it's a B-altered gasser frame that I had, that I buy for Speedway Motors in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Right. Okay, that's what I noticed also. Your front seats are not in the front, they are in the back.
Right, I drive it from the back.
Is it hard to get used to that or not?
No, I thought it would be. I thought it would be uncomfortable, but
right.
because the car has a 6-inch rake to the front,
right.
I'm able to see out the windshield and drive it like you would maybe a long Corvette or something.
But you can't see the stoplights, can you?
Well, you kind of gotta look at the stoplight on the side, not the one up above.
Okay, so you kind of lean your head out the window
yeah,
just a little bit?
You kind of squat down and look, see, what am I doing here?
When you're ready to go with this thing, though, it goes. What kind of power plant's on this?
Okay, I've got a 350 Chevy bored out and such, about 375 horse, and then a 3-speed automatic, and then a Dodge rear end in it.
You say you do nostalgic drags with this, right?
Yeah.
What kind of times can you do in a drag race?
Okay, 0 to 60 in 4.1. I go through the 8th mile at about 6.3 at about 87 mile an hour.
First time you took it on the drag strip, fearful or not?
Got on it, when it hit about 2 grand, the weight went to the back wheels and then the front wheels lifted, and I was, because of the way it's built, I was just knew where the sky was and where the road was.
And that's because of the altered frame on it, right?
Right, the altered frame gives me the weight to the back.
And that was the reason why they built the altered frames, to get that weight transfer to the back wheels,
correct,
to get more traction on it.
Yes, to get more traction, and it does work.
Tom, what are some of the fun stories you've had with this car?
Okay, other than just the adrenaline rush of drag racing, it's fun to drive on the street, come up to a light.
Right.
People are looking for whoever's driving it, and nobody's in the front seat driving it. Yeah. So I'm clearing the back, listening to them go, "Hey, sweetheart, there's nobody driving that car. What's the deal? What's the deal?" And then I'll finally say, hey, and then they'll look and I say, oh, okay, you know.
That is so fun. Are you doing it on purpose too? I mean, are you kind of just picking out on a road to see what kind of reaction you get?
I like to roll up. I like to roll up because I know that's what's going to happen.
All right, Tom, I heard there was a possible rumor that somebody might be endorsing this car. I mean, this car. What's that all about?
Yes, I was really elated. I took it to a car show at the Votech School here in Topeka, and the people from Go Army, they came up to me and they said, that body was the car that they had as a staff car in the Army. And Go Army says, you know, we're really thinking about this. We're going to send our banker around to maybe give you some money, but we want to take and make it look like a staff car, but a race car with the Go Army and the star and everything on it. And I'm pumped about that. I'm hoping to get back with them on that.
We don't know for a fact.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're hoping that's the fact, but we're not sure.
We were talking about the idea and then the fact that it was a staff car and that it could be a good advertisement for Go Army.
This is great. Yeah. Tom, can you do me one big favor?
Sure.
Can I hear this bad boy?
Yeah, you can hear this bad boy.
That's awesome.
Never ask a street rodder when their ride will be finished. You'll get one of two answers. 1, it is finished, or 2, it'll never be finished. Find out what Kenny said about his '47 Chevy, next on Street Rodding American Style.
You guys know I love old school cool, and here it is right here. I got the owner, Kenny. Kenny comes rolling up in this thing, and everybody turns and takes a look at it, and you're either saying, or, It's awesome. Kenny, what is this?
It's a '47 Chevy Business Coupe.
In 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first African American in Major League Baseball. Kraft Television Theater premiered on NBC, and B.F. Goodrich announced the development of the tubeless tire.
The stance on it it jumps out at you. You can't take your eyes off it when you come through it because it is setting perfect to the ground. What'd you do to get this stance on this thing?
Just bought a kit, Mustang 2 front suspension kit, and lowered it as low as it'd go.
So it's a bolt-on kit. You went ahead and
It's a
welded
bolt-on
it
kit. It's kind of an old school because it's been around a long time and has the old weight jacks on it, which basically you could crank it down a little bit farther.
Really?
Or you can raise it back up. It's an old stock car trick.
Right on.
Yeah. So I just basically cranked it all the way down as low as it'll go.
So there's a kit out there you can buy. You just crank it down and it lowers it, squeezes the springs together, and it sets low. You don't have to cut the springs or anything.
Exactly.
It's all
old school. No airbags, nothing.
How does it ride? Does it ride nice and smooth?
Rides good, yeah.
It's not rickety or rackety?
You could hit a bump every once in a while and it kind of jolts you a little bit, but otherwise it's all right. It's just because it's low. You know, I have a gravel driveway and cross member hits a few times when I'm going through the gravel.
That's all right. That's all right, man. It's cool, man. This thing's old school cool. Now, you and I are talking a little bit ago off camera. I call it an unfinished hot rod or old school hot rod. What do you call it?
I call it a semi-rat.
Semi-rat. It is ratty. It looks ratty. And we've got a few different pieces on here, if I understand right. It's not stock motor.
Nope. 327.
It's 327 small block, new motor we got in there. You got eyelids.
I like motorcycles too, and I had these old things, and so this car is just basically a little bit of everything that I had laying around. I tried to keep it as cheap as possible. Even the wheels, I traded for those.
What I love about it is it's a hot rod, and it's pretty much original in stock. You got one of these laying around, it's probably got all the junk missing from the inside. This has the original interior, right?
Yep.
It almost looks like it's a wood grain finish.
Yeah.
But I think it's dirty.
Yeah.
So who knows what it looked like originally, right?
Just wipe it down and go.
Dude, it's awesome. Any fun stories in this thing?
About the only really fun story I had was me and my wife, we took it to Salina, and it was really, really hot. So I didn't have the air conditioning working at the time, so we bought these little squirt bottles, and she was squirting me and I was squirting her on down the road. That's the only way we could make it back because it was so hot.
That's cool,
and I got my duct tape out and I covered up every hole in the firewall so I couldn't get no heat, but it was still hot.
You got an AC in this thing that says Sears on it.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that? Well, Sears, but I mean, you can't do that now.
No, somebody bought it from Sears a long time ago, put it in an old car, and I found it in an old car, so I kept it. And I put it up underneath here, and another friend of mine, he's good at everything, hooked up the AC lines, and it works.
I'm sure you get this question all the time. What color are you gonna paint it?
Not done.
That's right, dude. It took 66 years to get this pretty. Let's just leave it that
Yep.
way. No clear coat or nothing?
Nope.
A lot of guys clear coat them.
Well, see, I'm an old painter, and you know, most painters always drive the ugliest car around. So there it is. I ain't changing a thing.
Most painters drive the ugliest car around.
They usually do.
Is that true?
Yeah, they don't want to paint their own stuff, but they'll paint everybody else's.
Dude, don't paint it. It's really cool the way it is. I'm sure a lot of guys want to see it painted. I love it this way. I love the stance. I love everything about it. The interior is legit. It's sweet. Now, the 327. But you could fit a little bit more beef onto that hood.
I could.
The 327 get this thing around all right?
Oh yeah, easy.
You ever break tires loose?
Not really. It's got, that's the weak point of it. I have an S10 rear end in it, so I can go 80 mile an hour all day long.
Right on. It's a cruiser.
Yeah.
It's cool, and it looks good going down the road, man. I got one more question for you. Can we hear this bad boy?
Sure.
Fire it up. All right, guys, check this out. Ford has invited us to come along and drag race a couple of Roush Mustangs on their Dyno Simulator. So Patricia and I are gonna hop up in those bad boys and see who can go head to head and see who comes out on top. Come along and check it out. Me and Patricia are about ready to get crazy, and I'm gonna show her how it's done drag race style. And one of these Mustangs right behind us, and she's going down hardcore.
So we'll just talk about how it feels to get beat by a girl when we're done.
I was gonna say money talks, but there's no money on the
There's
line.
no money.
Patricia,
I can't be beat by him.
you're going down.
Huh?
You're
Nah,
going down.
No way, no way. It's on.
Your car's heavier.
That all you got? Once we get staged, I'm gonna give them a thumbs up.
Okay,
The lights are gonna come down on the tree.
right?
You wanna go on the third yellow. As it comes down, 1, 2, 3 yellow, go on the third. Don't go on the green or you'll fall. Put on the brake.
Okay.
Patricia, you're supposed to go in the first yellow.
Oh yeah? Uh-huh.
Ready?
Yeah,
I'm
ready.
ready.
Thumbs
I'm
up.
doing it.
Watch a third yellow. When it hits third yellow, punch it, lick your
Punch
foot
it.
off the brake.
Okay, foot off the
Patricia
brake.
is going down.
Foot off the brake, then
In
punch
3,
it. Yes, okay.
2, 1.
There's nothing worse than seeing our ride being towed by a wrecker. But it might just bring a smile to your face if it's being towed by Calvin's 39 GMC wrecker. It's next on Street Rodding American Style.
Calvin, don't do very many records. Matter of fact, never done a record before on the show. Tell me what we're looking at here.
Well, this started life as a 1939 GMC AC 303, 1.5 ton truck, and it was a hay truck. It was a flatbed truck.
In 1939, the average price for a new car was $700. Guy Lombardo and the Royal Canadians recorded Auld Lang Syne, and Ted Williams' first career hit was a double.
So when you said start his life out, that's what it was. It was not a record.
It spent the first 6 years of his life as a hay hauling flatbed.
So then why'd you go to a record?
When I was a kid, we used to go to the races, and I used to ride around the back of the track in
Oh,
the
did
back
you
of
really?
the wrecker, and I dreamed this up and decided to build something that took me back to my childhood.
So this is your dream truck.
Yeah, yep. This is one of, it's like building full-scale model cars.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
When people come up to it, what is it that they notice first about the truck?
Well, you just don't see old record trucks, for one
Right.
thing. And then, you start to realize that it's not just an old truck. It's kind of hot rodded, subtly. I tried to keep it true to period correctness
Right.
with the colors. But when you start looking around, you start seeing some things that, wait a minute, that didn't come on a 1939 GMC.
The one thing that I noticed that did not come on this, that engine.
Yeah, that's not exactly stock.
You got a blower on this thing.
Oh, yeah, you gotta
Why
have-
would you put a blower on this?
Because you got to have one.
You
Don't
gotta
you?
have
Yeah.
one. Just word of warning, you gotta have
Yeah.
one if you're gonna make a street rod. Just saying, Calvin says it. I'm not arguing.
Yeah, that's why the sides of the hoods aren't there, because if you got a blower, you got to show it off. Yeah.
You gotta show it
Yeah.
off. Matter of fact, the snorkel on it makes it, just adds to it. But besides that is the paint job, the pinstriping. That is not tape, that is all hand
Oh
done.
yeah, it took 6 days to pinstripe this
Did you
truck.
do it?
No, I paid a guy to do it, and I paid him a lot of money. To do it.
You gotta, yes. I love the pinstriping on it. It's, again, very subtle. Again, on the hood, on the fenders. The next thing I noticed was the stance.
Right.
It's got a rake to it.
Right.
How did you get this rake?
I Took out leaf springs and played with wheel sizes and tire sizes, and actually I managed to have the modern 20s with small tires.
Right.
Only I did it with the old truck wheels. And these are Model A car tires on the front.
Wait. Model A? These have tubes in them?
Yes, these are
These
tube tires.
have tubes in them.
Yep.
So why did you go with the tube tires?
For two reasons. One is I wanted the look. I needed the white wall, the wide whites.
Right.
And I was but to keep the original driveline and the brakes and stuff, I couldn't get modern wheels to put on it, and when it's all said and done, I'm glad I couldn't.
Really?
Because then when it was all said and done, having the stock wheels pinstriped versus just going out and buying some billet wheels, it's so much of the character of the truck.
It is. It is. What is your favorite thing about the truck?
Just the fact that it takes me back to being a kid.
Really?
And then I started off with a cab and chassis, and everything else that isn't cab and chassis, I built from scratch. I didn't restore no record. I built it from scratch. That's when I say I'm building full-scale model cars. It's cool to take flat sheet metal and create something that's the only one like it on the planet, and that's what's cool.
Do you ever take people for rides in this thing?
Oh, what's funny at car shows, people are always don't let their kids touch them.
Right.
I grab kids and throw them in the seat because if one little boy turns into a car freak because he set my record.
Exactly. That's cool. So cool, Calvin. So cool. Do me one last favor. Can I hear this bad boy?
Yeah, I kept stock truck mufflers because I wanted it to sound like an old truck. It doesn't sound like a hot rod.
That's all right.
We can fire her up.
Watch a third yellow. When it hits third yellow, punch it, then you
Punch
foot
it.
off the brake.
Okay, foot off the brake.
Patricia is going down.
Foot off the brake, then punch it. Yes, okay.
2, 1. There you go. And Patricia going down. All the way down. Woo! Patricia's going down. I can feel it. You're good. Got it. You got it. 1288 at 115.
Nicely done!
Oh, yeah. What happened?
Did you pay that guy?
Nice job!
We all understand that looks can fool, which is true with Steve's 55 Chevy. It looks like an old school straight axle gasser. Find out how he fooled us next on Street Rotting American Style.
I was told to find something shiny. I found something shiny, and look out, because if you're not careful, this thing's gonna straight up jack slap you in the face. It's ridiculous, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. Here's the owner. I'm not gonna say the same thing about Steve, but Steve, bam! What is this thing? What are we looking at?
It's a 1955 Chevy 210 gasser.
In 1955, Dwight Eisenhower was president and Richard Nixon was vice president. Artificial diamonds were created for the first time, and the hourly minimum wage, 75 cents.
Now, whoa. I saw rolling up here, I said, man, that's a sweet gasser. But as I get closer, is it really a gasser?
Well, it's gasser style.
Gasser-esque.
Right. It doesn't have a straight axle, but it sets high like a straight axle.
Well, yeah, I saw that, and first thing I thought, how do the guys, when they get them straight axles, they really set up high for that weight transfer into gassers, right? This thing's setting up high, but it doesn't have the straight axle. How'd you get it up so high?
Springs and ball joint spacers. They use new spacers that will
set them in between
the
the springs
suspension work
and
right.
it stands up. How's it going to drive with these spacers in the springs?
Just like it would if it was stock.
You can't even tell the difference.
Right.
Everybody puts a straight axle in a gasser because of that weight transfer, and it really helps it rocket off the line. You didn't do that. Why?
Because I drive it a lot of miles on the highway and go to a lot of different shows, and I want to drive normal.
So this isn't a trailer queen. This beauty drives around.
It's never been on a trailer.
Did you do all this yourself?
Me and a good friend of mine.
What did it look like when you got it?
That was a pretty rough old car, but took a little bit of work here and there and made a pretty decent old car out of it.
Man, you did a great job. The thing that really drew me to it, first of all, for some reason the orange is cool. I'm drawn to the orange. I don't know if it's Dukes of Hazzard or what. I like the orange. It's way cool. When I get closer and start looking at it, the interior is sweet. It's like a coppery color with the orange. Man, it just pops. How'd you get that idea?
Well, actually, I had the interior for the last 15 years. I took it out of a car I bought, and change the interior. And I've had that interior for 15 years in my basement, so I decided to build the car to match the interior.
That's really a cool idea.
Yeah, just because it was a nice interior and I wanted a 60s style car and it was a 60s style interior, so it worked out great.
You had this interior stored up in your basement for 15 years?
15 years.
What'd the missus think about that?
Didn't bother her any because I had it hid back in the corner.
Hide your parts.
That's right.
Why a 55?
I've always liked 5, 6, 7 Chevys. I had a lot of them, and they're my favorite cars.
Is this your favorite 55?
Yes, it is my favorite 55. I haven't had a whole lot of 55s, mainly 56s.
Why is this your favorite?
Well, because it's different.
What's different about it?
Well, it being gasser style, everything else I built was always slammed on the ground and pro-streeted or something like that, and I want something different.
Steve, is there anything in the future that you think you want to do to this bad boy?
Drive it and enjoy it.
That's street rodding right there, man. Well, with that being said, I got one more question. Can we hear this bad boy?
Sure.
Fire it up!
When Bill showed us his '73 Dodge Challenger, we were sure glad he did. And we have it next on Street Rodding American Style.
Bill, when it comes to muscle cars, this really falls in that category. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at a 1973 Dodge Challenger with just shy of 83,000 miles. It's a Dodge Challenger Rally.
In 1973, the cost of a gallon of gas was 40 cents. Watergate hearings began in the U.S. Senate, and American Graffiti hit the movie theaters.
So what's the difference between the RT package and the Rally package?
All they changed was basically the striping, and then they had this little gold thing on these little fins right there.
Do they do anything?
No, not at all. They catch wax.
so it's really a pain, kind of.
Yeah, it is. And after 72, the 340 was the biggest motor you could get in the Challengers. And so that was kind of, maybe that had to do with the Rally package. But everything was the same as on the RT package as far as the dash, the gauges, the hood, the shifter, the console, everything was still the same. They just called it a Challenger Rally.
But you know what? It's still cool.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's very cool.
Absolutely.
Do the hood scoops work?
I don't have, these can be removed and then they will be functional, but you need the double snorkeled breather, and I only have a single, so I haven't taken them out.
So why push it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I like it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, if you had your druthers about this, would you keep it the way it is, or would you modify it?
Oh, no, being it's an all-original car, it should be kept original.
So you want to keep it original?
Absolutely.
This is original color.
Original color.
Original paint job, everything around.
Well, it was repainted in 2000.
Okay.
But other than that, everything is original on the car.
Engine-wise, everything original?
Yes.
Interior, same interior?
Original interior.
I keep pushing, I keep asking. I'm
yeah,
see if I can trick
interior.
You. There's nothing about this that's modified.
No, the only thing that's not original, the front bumper. I had to replace the front bumper because it had a dent.
So that's the only thing?
That's the only thing.
Well, I can handle that.
These are still the original wheels and everything.
What's the horsepower when this came out of the factory?
245.
245?
Yes. They downsized it from 275 in 1971 to the smog stuff, the government regulations.
Yeah. So they gotta get your foot out of it a little bit more.
Yeah, but I tell you what, they'll still put you sideways in the middle of the road.
Do you do it?
I try not to, but I actually did leaving the Linden car show, and it kind of scared me.
But you didn't try to?
Come
on, you tried.
A little bit. I wanted to hear the exhaust, so I let him hear the exhaust.
I see.
He didn't hear much of it because I was going sideways.
And you were screaming.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
I've also noticed on the interior, those seats are very low.
Yes, they are.
Is it kind of a comfortable feel or a kind of an uncomfortable feel?
After you've got in there, your legs are stretched out, and it's a fairly comfortable ride. But getting in and out is kind of tough.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
Now, your wife, how tall is she?
No, about 5'2".
Yeah, I met her.
Yeah.
And she drives this thing, right?
Yeah, we go out on for breakfast every Sunday morning, and she drives me.
Does it have a little hard time getting over the dash?
I asked her if she wanted a phone book.
And she said?
She said no, they weren't thick enough.
Oh, okay.
But she does all right. She ain't run into nothing yet, so.
So it's all good.
It's all good. It's all good. She has fun, I have fun.
If you had your choice of any Mopar, stick with this or another Mopar?
I'd stick with this. I've always been a Challenger person. I bought my first one in 1974. It was a 1972 model.
Yeah.
I like them.
So no other car was.
No, I'm good. I got a 2012 Challenger. I just like Challenger.
Always had Mopars.
Pretty much.
With Chevys, Fords.
I had a few Chevys, a couple Fords.
Would you never go back to those? It'd always be a Mopar.
I always like Mopars.
It is very cool. Well, Bill, I gotta ask you a question.
You got it.
Can we hear this bad boy?
You can hear it.
It's a great time at Topeka.
Man, I agree. So what'd you find?
I found Tom's Plymouth, right? You should have seen it. He fabricated everything so he drives in the back seat.
No way.
Yeah, it's really a head turner. And then I saw one of the most amazing restored records.
Oh, yeah?
39 GMC. They belong to Calvin. How about you?
Well, dude, I love it when people find those records. They're awesome.
Yes.
I found Kenny's 47 Chevy Business Coupe. This thing was old school cool, man. He did it up right, and it was sweet. My kind of street rod.
Right.
Then I met this guy named Steve. He has a 55 Chevy that had the look of an old gasser.
Oh, you can't go wrong.
Dude, it was chrome everywhere, orange, just jumped out. It was ridiculous, man. It was cool.
And if you want to see some more cool rides, check us out again next week and see why street rodding is more than just a hobby.
It's an addiction.
Support for Street Rodding American Style is provided in part by BG Products Incorporated. BG Products Incorporated is dedicated to making vehicles last longer and perform better in the meantime. In shops all over the world, BG Products serves the driving public with innovative products and proven programs of automotive maintenance. More information can be found at bgfindashop.com. And
Ren Radio plays your favorite oldies, great oldies of the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. Great oldies from Elvis, Chuck Berry, the Skyliners, and many more. Nothing but the greatest music ever laid down on disc. Ren Radio is online all the time at renradio.net.
Good times, great oldies. WREN.